Okay, in today's Unity tutorial, I'm going to go over how to use multiple cameras. And when you use multiple cameras, it's helpful for doing things like split screen gameplay and maybe something like showing a television, playing some video while you're walking through a room. But anyway, this is the project that I have here set up that's going to show what we're going to do in the tutorial today. So what I have is this scene, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 characters, and each of these characters has a camera behind them. So here for the Omar Vision character, this is the one I could control with my mouse. I can move around, and in this little window here, I could see the world from the point of view of the Omar Vision character. Then over here we have the mean golem, which is this guy when he's walking through. Then we have Laurie, and then we have Billy. So you can see how if this was like a split screen game, that you could have cameras showing different things. But how do you do this? And then there's one camera that just shows the scene plain and simple the way I expect it, like right here. How do we do this? And let's just start a new project from scratch. Okay, and we'll call this one, or we'll call it multiple cameras. Okay, here we have our brand new project. Let's start putting some stuff in here so we could like do our thing. I put in a terrain, but here, just to go faster, I'm just going to put in a floor, which is a cube, and I'll just call it floor. And I just make it a certain size, like 50 by 50. All right. And then I could just grab a texture from the internet somewhere. Okay, and I just want to look through the images. And then I'll pick seamless. Jeez. So I'll just pick this, save it to my folder where my project is. What is it? Multiple cameras, the assets folder. And I'll just call this the floor. Enter. And then I'll just drag and drop it on there, and now I have the floor material, which I double clicked in the materials folder, and here's the floor material that got created, and here it is, tiling. Let's see, maybe just go like 10 by 10. Now I'll put some character into the scene, game object, 3D object, make it a capsule. And let's see, let's focus in on the capsule. It's halfway in the floor there. So let's take the floor and just lower it by -1.5. All right, now we want to drag these capsules on there. So this capsule, here's one, and let me just make a material for it. Let's just say that this one is red. Okay, so here with the material selected, I will change the color to red, and then I'll drag and drop red on the capsule. That's one player. So let's say that this is P1 for player 1. And now let me finish making this player 1 thing here. We got a renderer, capsule collider. Let's add a rigid body, physics, rigid body. And since it's a capsule and it's round on the bottom, let's constrain it from falling over by freezing rotation on the X and the Z. Okay, and then we need a script to control movement of this. So we'll just write one really quick. Let me go back up to the assets root folder, and right here, right click and say create a C# script. And this will be the player. And then let's double click to open it up in Visual Studio. There we go. We're going to move a character, so let's have a float for the move speed. And let's just say 8. And then we'll have a float for the turn speed. And let's just say 120. Okay. And then we're going to have the private void update. This is a mono behavior event from the mono behavior class. This happens every frame. And what we'll do is we'll read the keyboard. So into X, we'll put input.getAxis horizontal. The value from that's going to be, basically that means here we could use the keys A and D, or we could use the arrows. Okay. And then for the Y, equals input.getAxis vertical. And the words horizontal and vertical, these are in the input settings inside the editor. If you go to input settings, these words have definitions for reading AD of the arrows. And this one for vertical is going to be WS, or the arrows. Also, it could be a gamepad if you have one. So those are the input values we're going to get so the user can control this. Now we just got to take those input values and move the character. So move the game object. This.transform dot translate. Oops. Translate. And we're going to move on the forward vector. Like we're going to move forward with this one here. Vector3 dot forward. And how much we're going to move forward is going to be times the Y input. And how fast the move speed, we'll just multiply by the move speed times time dot delta time. So this line, if we're using the Y, we'll move the character forward and backward. And then this dot transform dot rotate will do the rotation on the up axis, vector3 dot up times x. This is like turning left and right, times the turn speed, so we could turn faster than the speed of 1, time dot delta time. Okay, so this should take care, oops, I missed a little multiplication symbol. This should take care of moving the player, this script. Go back to Unity, and it's reading the script that I just typed in. Now I'll click on the player 1, and I'll drag and drop the script to player 1, and you can see down here the script is added. And let me just make sure the camera is looking at this view right now, the one camera, Control-Shift-F, okay? And that when the camera is selected, over here, Control-Shift-F is align with view to make the camera line up with this view. Now I'll press play, and I should be able to move the character around. That's my first step, that I've made this. Wait. Okay, yeah. He's moving around. And he kind of moved the wrong way on me, because if you look over here, the forward is this way. So I should just turn this view around so that when I press forward, it's actually going to move forward from what my view is. So I'll select the camera and Control-Shift-F again. And now I'll press play. And let's see if I like the movement and the speeds I picked. So I can forward, I can turn, and you can't really tell when I'm turning because it's just a round shape. So maybe to show turning, I'll just add another child object here, a cube. And let's just make it really 0.2. With that cube there, we should be able to tell when we're turning, and that's Z. So let me just make that, maybe make this like 2, and make this like 0.2, like arms, okay? So those are like arms. That way I can tell when I'm turning. Now I'll press play. And now I can tell when I'm turning. Alright? Whoopee! And I'm moving around, and there's no camera on me, so I'm just seeing the scene view, but no camera, particularly behind my character. Okay, so we have a player character, and I'm going to stop at that. Now I'm going to make an NPC, a non-playable character. So game object, I'm going to add another capsule in here. And this is going to be my NPC 1. And let's just put him over here. Do you guys want to give it a color? I will give it a color. So let's make a new material, and let's make the NPC yellow. Okay, so I'll just change the color to yellow and put that color on my NPC. So the NPC also, so I can see it's moving, let me put a cube on there too, and do the same thing, 2.2, 0.2. Yeah, so it has arms too, so we can tell when it's moving. So now let's make a script so that the NPC moves around randomly. Create C# script, and I'll say NPC. And then we'll open that up in Visual Studio. So this one's going to be a little bit more complicated because I'm not going to control it. The computer's going to control it. So I think what I'll do is, like, every couple of moments, I'll have it decide to either change its direction or move forward or move backward. So let's make an enum. So I'll have private enum moves, like the different moves it could do will be like it's stopped, and the value for that I'll say is 0, or it can move forward, and the value for that I'm just going to say is 9, or backward, and let's say 9, okay, or -9. So these values are like how much it's going to move in the directions, like forward, backward, right? Just like over here in player, I had this move speed Over here for the NPCs, I have the move speed. Well, so I should make it like an 8 like I did with the other one. 8. So it's either going to move forward by 8, backward by -8. And then for turning, same thing, private, enum, turns. Let's see. If it's stopped, it's going to have 0 change in angle. If it is turning to the left, it's 120. Left is 120. Left is actually negative, so -120. And if it's to the right, it'll equal 120. Okay. So those are my movement values in an enum. So when we're writing the code, we can understand what we mean. So now I'll have a private enum. Oops. Private enum for the moving, and a private enum for the turning. Okay, those two variables. And let's see. We're gonna have a start function here. So when the script starts, it's like private start enter, and then IntelliSense will fill in the the syntax for the function for me. And start runs once when the game starts. So this will run once when the game starts. Okay. Why do I have this little thing here? This has a little squiggly, which this red squiggly means there's an error. It says show potential fixes. Oh, I said enum. I want it to be the moves enum. Sorry, guys and girls. And this, oops. And this, I want it to be the turns enum. There we go. There we go. All right, so in the start, I'm going to do an invoke. I'm going to do a call to invoke repeating. So there's going to be a decide move function that I'm going to write. That it's going to call that. And the first time we'll call it will be after 1 second. And then it will call it every second after that. Okay. And then I'll also have one for the turning. Invoke repeating decide turn. But then I'll write a function for that, and I'll call it after 1 second and every second after that. Let's write the update. Let's write the decide move and the decide turn. So private void decide move. It's just gonna pick which movement it's gonna do. Okay. Which of these moves is it gonna do? So I need a random. So int r equals random. Let's pick a random range, and let's just like say from 0 to 100. It's gonna have a random number from 0 to 100, and I'll say if r is greater than or equal to 0 and r is less than 10, that we're gonna set the moving variable that the character is gonna move. It's gonna be moving forward. Okay. Else if r is greater than or equal to 10 and r is less than 15, then we'll say moving equals moves dot backward. Okay. Oops, I forgot the semicolon. End of a command. Else if r is greater than or equal to 20 and r is less than 30, then we'll just say moving equals moves dot stop. Okay, so these are the different moves. It could be forward, backward, or stop, and it calls this and changes whatever the moving is every second. Now, other function is decide turn. Private void decide turn, and it's going to be the same thing, except we're going to be doing the turn variable. So int r equals random dot range from 0 to 100 again, we'll just say. And if r, let's see, if r is greater than or, oopsie, what? Oh, that's a T. All right, let's make that an R. And I'm sorry that text is so small. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. If R is greater than or equal to 0 and R is less than 10, then I'm going to do turning equals turns dot to the left. And if R is greater than or equal to 10 and R is less than 20, Then turning is equal to turns dot right. I forgot the else if. Else if, or I could just say, yeah, else if r is greater than equal to 20 and r is less than 30, then don't turn. Turning equals turns dot stop. So you can play around with those number ranges to see when it does whatever, but this should give it some thinking and deciding by randomness. Now we just need to actually move the NPC, so we'll do that in an update. Private void update. Okay, and then here we'll do the same thing we did in the player one. This dot transform dot translate vector 3 dot forward for the moving back and forth times, we're gonna have to convert the int into an integer, times time dot delta time. Then we'll have this dot transform dot rotate vector 3 dot up, we're rotating on the up axis, times integer times turning times time dot delta time. Alright, so this will move the NPC randomly. Let's see what happens. I could suspect there'll be a problem if it rolls right off the edges. Let me zoom out a little bit more so I can see the whole playing field better. Camera, Control Shift F, and let's put the script on the NPC for the NPC. Bam, so now I got the one I'm controlling and the one the computer's going to control. I press play, and you see the NPC is like turning. It's not moving yet. Oh, there it goes. Now it's starting to move. And woo, it turned just before I went off the edge. Turning. And of course, I could control my character with keys in. No, he went right off. He went right off. And the reason he didn't fall off the ground is because he doesn't have the rigid body yet. So I have to put the rigid body on him. Physics, rigid body. And keep him from falling over with the X and the Z. File, save. Now, let's put some interesting obstacles here so we can tell differences. And also, probably could put a barrier around. So, got the player one, we got the NPC. We're still not up to the camera part yet. I'm just still making the game. You know, so here, let's quickly make barriers. 3D object, cube, and this could be 50. Alright, and this one I just put over here, and then just make a duplicate. This is a barrier. I just control D, and then I could have the other barrier for this side over here. Okay, that way the characters don't go off. And now let me make one more, game object, 3D object cube, and this one will be 50 in the Z. And I'll put one over here, barrier, and then control D for a duplicate, and put one over here. That's keeping from falling off. And let's just put some markers in here. I'll put the barriers all in a create empty for the scene. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 in there. Now let's just make some obstacles to look at. 3D object cube, and I'll just make this bigger, like 3 by 3 or 5 by 5, and I'll just place it somewhere. Then make copies. Just whoops, that one went up in the sky. Control Z. And put these around. Control Z. Control D. And maybe even one could be rotated. Maybe it could be like a ramp. Just that way we could tell when we're moving around. Alright? File, save. So now I have these two characters that can move around. I have a scene. I'm going to make, I'll still leave this one camera, the main camera, to look at the whole scene. Alright? Like this. The whole scene will be viewed like this, right? Now I'm going to add a camera to my player. It'll be a child. So I'll add a camera to the player that's a child. Let's take a look here. Now the camera, let's look at the camera view. That's what it's seeing, but if we back it up, then you can see the character a little bit. And if we pick, oh, that's the wrong one. Control Z, if we pick it up. So let's see, that'll be the view of that guy. And then for the NPC, let's add a camera too. Camera. And this is what that camera's seeing for the NPC. Let's go to the NPC, select the camera, and back it up a little, and raise it up a little, okay? So now we got two cameras to follow our players, but when I press play on the game, you're going to see that we don't see those two cameras. Now I'm seeing this camera from player 1. So how do I know which camera to be showing? There's 3 cameras in the scene. So here, this camera here, there's one thing, every camera has an audio listener. So since I'm player 1, if there's any sounds, I want to hear the sounds with respect to myself. So I'll leave that audio listener. But the main camera, I'm going to turn off the audio listener. And the NPC camera, I'm going to turn off the audio listener. Now, in order to have each camera, all 3 cameras display on the screen, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a render texture for each of the player cameras. So here, create render texture, and I'll call this one render for the player. And then I'll make another create render texture, and I'll call this one render for the NPC one. All right, 2 render textures, and then I'm going to have a UI. So for my sample scene, I'll create game object UI raw image. So what's going to happen is the cameras are going to display the render textures, and no, the cameras are going to render to the render textures, and then those render textures are going to display in the raw image. So here I added a canvas raw image, and if I look at my game view, it's currently that raw image is right here, this box right here. Let me just throw my event system in the canvas. So I could say that this is the raw image for the player, and then I could add another one, raw image, yeah, UI raw image, and for the second one, this will be for NPC1. Okay. So for this camera for the player, I'm going to set the target texture to the render texture player that we created right here, render texture, okay? And then for this camera, the NPC, I'm going to set the render texture to the NPC render texture, okay? Now there's only one thing, I put these raw images here, but I didn't position them, so let me try to do that. Also, these raw images, they're not saying what textures are going to show. So for player, let's tell it to show the render image player. Okay, see? And you see? Then for the NPC, let's tell it to show the render for the NPC. See? You see? We got those 2 things. Now the size and everything, say they're kind of small, we can make it bigger. So let's take the raw image for the player, which is right now here at the bottom, and well, we could use this to kind of anchor it to a location. Let me anchor it to the left side of the screen. But actually, before I do that, let me make it bigger. Let me make it like 400 by 400 instead, and then do the anchor to the side of the screen. So that's my player and what my player is seeing. And if I move it over more, yep, you can see that's the player's view. What happens if I make it wider? Does it stretch the pixels? 500? It does, it's stretching them. 400 by 400. And then this one, the NPC, I'll select it, and let's make it, we can make it whatever size. Let's make this one 300 just to show 300. And this one, let's put that on the other side. All right, so we got the 2 players and their camera images, and then we have this camera here showing all that down there. Let's press play. So there's 3 cameras working now. And I press play. So here, see, I could move, and here you could see me moving my character and what he sees. And then the NPC over here, you can see it moving on its own by the computer and what it sees. And that's how you get multiple cameras. You have to use a camera, a render texture, and then you have to use the UI and add a raw image. So you tell the camera to render to one of the render textures. And then on the canvas, you have a raw image, and you tell the raw image to render a render texture. And that's basically how you get multiple cameras. There you go.